Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Davies, a moderator for today's legislative breakfast, which is hosted by North Country Chamber of Commerce. And this morning's legislative breakfast is being sponsored by the Old Stone House Museum and Historic Village in Brownington Village. And as indicated, I'm a native of the historic village, and there's no better place on earth to be raised than Brownington Village. In behalf of the Chamber, I'd like to welcome everyone to the final gathering for this year. Hopefully, next year we'll be able to have the legislative breakfasts in real time rather than in Zoom time. I'm also very pleased to welcome Dan Pellerin, the Vice Chair of the Chamber, who organizes these breakfasts. And if anyone does not receive email notifications with reference to the breakfast, please contact Dan and provide him with your email address, and your name will be added to the list so that you'll receive email notifications with reference to next year's legislative breakfast. I'm also greatly appreciative of the hospitality extended to us by NEK-TV for allowing us to use their facilities this year, and my greatest appreciation to Todd Perano for allowing me to be present here at NEK-TV and for making sure that technology is working, especially given that I am admittedly very much technologically challenged, much by choice. Now, this morning, we're very pleased to have with us, and please correct me if I miss somebody, Senator Bobby Starr, Senator Russ Engels, Representative Mark Higley, Representative Vicki Strong, Representative Brian Smith, and Representative Woodman Page. And Lynn Batchelder just joined us. And is there any other legislator present? Okay. With that, I would call upon each of the legislators to give us a brief overview of their perspective on this year's session. Now, with the very wonderful turnout of legislators, I'd like to have everyone limit their comments to about 5 minutes so that we have time to allow for questions and comments from the citizens of Orleans County. And when we get to that point, I'd like to remind everyone to introduce yourself, tell us your name and where you're from, and also we need to make sure that everyone has the chance to ask one question or make one comment before we open it up to them having a second shot. So in introducing the legislators, I will make note of the committee or committees on which I believe each has been assigned. And I asked each legislator to correct me if the information that I have obtained from the legislative website is incorrect. I'd like to start, and we go with seniority. And so it's not that I am calling Bobby Starr old, it's just that he is the most senior of the legislators. So let's start with Senator Bobby Starr, who serves as chair of the Senate Committee on Agriculture and is a member of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, the Legislative Study Committee on Wetlands, the Vermont Milk Commission, and the Task Force to Revitalize Vermont Dairy Industry. Bobby? And Bobby, I think you need to unmute yourself.
There I go. Thank you, Bill. And I want to thank Dan as well. And of course, Todd and the Old Stone House for sponsoring this breakfast. It's always good to be with you folks and give a little update on where we are in Montpelier. Hopefully we have only 2 weeks left, and we'll be home for the summer and fall, hopefully. which would be welcomed by, I'm sure, all of us. Instead of like last year, we had to fool around most of the summer off and on working on legislation. But in ag, quickly, we've got all of our bills done for the season and moved. I think we have one more maybe that's got to go back to the House. But S100's a universal breakfast program that we put together and spent a lot of time on that. And then about 2 weeks ago, found out that USDA was going to continue their free meals program at all of our schools. So it's going to give us another year to for the House and for us to work out any details. The other issue in agriculture, or another issue, is that last year we had our own ag budget to put out loans and grants to farmers, and this year it's going to be all done through ACCD. So we did give Gus Seelick and VHCB 50, gave them $50,000 to help farmers with their applications, because I'm sure they're going to be much more complicated than the ones that we set up at Ag Forum. We did, in that meals program, we put $500,000 into that to help encourage local school districts to buy more produce and products from local dairy farmers. S102 we passed, and that is a bill to allow farms to take food residues, so they could go, like, say, East Side and places like that, pick up their waste food, which cannot go to the landfills any longer, and take that back to their farms and make compost, as well as a lot of farms feed their chickens, let them pick through the scraps and take what they want, and to help out there. We also doubled the numbers for on-farm slaughter this past year so that farmers can sell animals right on the farm, and people can take their animals to a butcher shop and get them cut up from that. We also passed H343, which is the Pesticide Advisory Board. We changed that over to the Ag Technological Board, dealing with all types of pesticides and herbicides. The big bill, which we call it, is the appropriations bill, and that got passed through the House, I think, on a unanimous, through the Senate on a unanimous vote, and sent back to the House, and they've set up the conference committee on that, as well as another bill that's important to a lot of our folks is the retirement bill. For our state employees, our municipal employees, and our teachers, statewide teachers with them. And I think the Senate Government Operations Committee and the Senate in general did a good job getting that bill out. It seems that a lot of the problems with our pension fund, besides demographics, we have more people drawing than paying in because people are living longer. But the other issue was that I don't think, and I personally feel that, people weren't paying attention to what kind of money we were getting for a return. I think Wall Street was milking us dry, selling and buying and selling and buying and taking their cuts. And the bill that we passed revamped the committee that's going to look after that. And it seemed like the teachers were happy with this new bill. Employees were happy with it. And we didn't hear a lot from the municipal employees, but I'm sure that they would be happy with it. And some of these things I've said are this past year or two, most of us that have invested any money were getting 12 to 20% returns, and they were down getting 3 and 4% and selling stock. So there was all kinds of charges. So I think we're going to work our way out of this without a whole lot of details. And maybe I'd better leave it there so that the rest of the crew can say what they've been doing. So thank you, Bill, and we'll be on the line to take questions.
And thank you, Bobby. And our other state senator, Russ Ingalls. Russ serves as clerk of the Senate Committee on Institutions and as a member of the Senate Committee on Transportation. Russ?
I want to thank all the representatives that showed today and my fellow seatmate, Senator Bobby Starr, the Old Stone House, and Dan Pellerin for organizing these, NEK-TV, of course, and Todd Prano. And yes, it's awful hard to find a moderator, a good one anyways, but we have Bill. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for stepping up and doing what you do. We've had a pretty good year down there. Of course, it's awful hard not to have a good year when you've got all this money coming in from Washington, and hopefully that will end fairly quickly. But on transportation, we've utilized federal funds tremendously. We've expanded the paving operations that are going on within the state for the 6th straight year. And in that 6th straight year, we've kept the transportation budget level funded, which is very, very nice. But what I see is a pretty well-run institution, really. I mean, they do a really nice job spending our money wisely, and they're getting a lot done. In my other committee, that's pretty much just trying to figure out what the governor recommends will be as far as in institutions and how we spend the money. That's come along nicely, and it seems like everybody's agreeing on that. Some things that is still to watch out for. We're very, very proud that the governor extended the job search or made it mandatory that people had to do job searches. They've got to do 3 a week now. It's not a Vermont problem that we can't fill these positions. We had 266,000 jobs created nationwide when we were expecting nearly 1 million. So it's not just the $300 federal money that's affecting Vermont, but it's apparently affecting all the nations. And the quickest we can get everybody back to work, I think, is the quickest we can stop borrowing money and get our economy going again. A couple bills. I should have wrote the names, the numbers of them down, but a couple of the bills that are bothering me a little bit. We have a new panel formed that is basically a suspension panel that before any problem students in school can be suspended. We've got to run them through this big panel. I think there's 30 people on this panel. So it's taken a little bit of local control over keeping discipline in our schools. Hopefully we can bring some sense to that and make sure that we don't lose any more local control as we had the Act 60 bill or the Act 60 bill or Act 48 bill that went through. We're having quite a time with allowing illegals to vote in some of our cities. That is only problematic. Everybody says, well, why don't we let the cities or towns decide what they want to do? Well, it doesn't just affect the cities and towns. A lot of these people who get elected on the local level will go further into politics, and then they will get into state level, they will get on the national level. And so, I think one of the greatest things that we have in this country is the right to vote. And it was the premise on that you had to be a citizen of this country to have that honor. And so we're kind of fighting that a little bit, and hopefully it's just a few cities and towns that think that that's important for them. But all your delegation here has been strongly steadfast, trying to keep that just at a few cities that think that that's what they want. They're on the verge of making buprenorphine legal to carry around for the people who have had addiction, and to help them get off addiction. It's been a great tool, but I don't think that you can ever get off of addiction completely until you're off of everything. And I think that that's going down the wrong path of keeping people on addiction. I'm glad that it's helped people get clean, but the only way to get clean is to get clean. We're still working on the mail-in ballot situation, where we're sending live ballots to anybody and everybody within the state. I got to give a shout out to Samantha LaFave and Mark Higley for fighting really, really hard to get some concessions in the House on S-15 to bring some sensibility to that bill. Basically, it just allows a ballot to go out to anybody, and we all know somebody or a bunch of people who've gotten just multiple ballots, or ballots for people who have died, or ballots for people who haven't lived in the House for a long time, or in the state for that matter. That's just a bad precedent to set. Those are legal live ballots floating around out there, and it takes some of the integrity of our elections away. Other than that, it's been a good session, I think, to echo Senator Starr, we're looking forward to getting back to our day jobs. It is the greatest part about being in the legislator. As a legislator, it's we all have jobs to go back to, and it's nice to get done the work in a timely fashion and get back to what we do to make a living. But again, I thank everybody. I think I got to just thank our delegation. I think that we do a nice job of representing the area. We all work well together, and I appreciate, as a first-term legislator, the phone calls and emails and texts and conversations that I've had with everybody. And thank you very much.
Russ. Now moving to the House, and again in order of seniority, start with Representative Mark Higley.
Thank you. And just to follow up on what Senator Ingalls was talking about in S-15, that's the vote by mail bill. Representative LaFave and myself were able to get a couple of concessions, and that's why we supported the bill in the end. Those concessions were many other states have a limited number of ballots that an individual can return. There was nothing like that in this bill. Even the state of Colorado has a maximum of 10 ballots. It's basically what they call or consider ballot harvesting. They had a limit of 10 in Colorado. We were able to get in 25. We tried for 10. The other issue was the state of Oregon has had a vote by mail process in place for 20 years. They've always had a voter verification process as well, which is a signature voter verification of its signatures. We weren't able to get testimony. I had called the Secretary of State's office out there and talked to them. We weren't able to get them in our committee to testify because of time. But the other concession that we got was by 2023, the Secretary of State's office will consider the cost, implications, and so on for some form of verification. 34 other states have some form of voter verification that's required. Like I said, the state of Oregon for 20 years has had it. It's just a safeguard. again, politics these days, as you know, is pretty extreme. And so I think it's going to be important going forward. The other Senate bill that we just dealt with was S-25. It's the cannabis bill. It's kind of a continuation of H-164. Had some concerns in that as well. The Senate had removed a piece that was originally in the bill regarding towns have to vote to have an establishment, whether it's a grow establishment, retail establishment. The Senate bumped that out, and by 2023, any town that didn't vote for that provision would be deemed open for business. We took that section out. We'll see how that holds up in a conference committee. The other concern that I had was, there's a whole section in there on giving a leg up to folks that have been, and this is the wording, disproportionately impacted by the cannabis prohibition. I don't really know what that means. I don't think anybody does. It's supposedly going to be up to the cannabis board that's in the process of being set up to make that determination. But there's the concessions for this group is going to be grants, loans, waivers of certain fees. So again, some concern there. Other concerns I had, maybe you heard that having a little bit of a surplus in the hemp CBD oil industry, they were able to, through a chemical process, create what they call Delta 8, which is a THC, very high concentration of THC. The ag department stepped in and shut that down for now, but there's just other concerns that I think we're going to be behind the eight ball all the time with trying to keep up with the industry and what they're going to be doing over the years. Maybe that's not really a reason not to support it, but again, I had some real concerns, and there's other issues as well that I heard in testimony. So I guess I'll leave it there. Maybe just briefly mention too, I hope it's stalled in the Senate, but we bumped out that general contractor registration process. I think that's a real concern, especially going down the road with a lot of money out there for weatherization projects and so on. I'm not even convinced we have enough contractors in the state of Vermont to do all that work as it is. As you probably are aware, if you've tried to purchase materials lately, the materials are off the Richter scale. I just can't imagine somebody trying to build a house these days. So I don't think we need to add one more cost and burden on contractors. There's a provision in there about anything over $3,500, you have to have a written contract. It just concerns me. More people are having to be, hired at the Secretary of State's office to implement this. So anyway, thanks again, and I appreciate being here this morning.
Thank you, Mark. Now, Representative Lynn Betchel.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank everybody for sponsoring this. I am on the Institutions and Corrections Committee this year, and I think our biggest bill, of course, is what we call the capital bill. The capital bill is how we spend our money on our buildings and, of course, corrections. Corrections, we'll start off with that. We need to build a brand new facility for the women. The building in Chittenden is absolutely horrible. It's bad enough being in prison, but it's definitely not a good place to be. So we've been looking everywhere. We're trying to find state-owned land, which of course would save the state a lot of money and just build a building. There's a possibility we can tear down the building that is already there on that particular site and build a step-down facility. We'll have a correctional facility someplace and then have that as a step-down as you get out of jail or corrections. Then you go and learn new trades while you're in corrections and then go ahead and step out. And so you can be put back into the rest of the community and have some skills and feel better about yourself and have already gone through the the drug rehabilitation or alcohol problems, whatever it is that got them into jail is what we're trying to do. So when they get out, they don't have a problem. We have done a huge, for the institutions, we have done a huge fit up, looking to see what we can do. We have space assessments that were done by, Freeman, French, and Freeman. And they gave us all kinds of idea on how to implement changes so we can go back to the State House. I don't think anybody, and of course the poor new legislators, don't have a clue what it's like to really be in the State House and what an honor it is. Every morning when I was coming out of the Capitol Plaza and went up to work, it was absolutely, it gave me goosebumps. It's the most beautiful building. And of course, it's a museum. So we have a little problem trying to figure out spacing. We can't tear down walls. There's lots of things we can't do. But most of all, most important thing is we're going to need a new HVAC system in that building, which is your heating and your airflow. And so we're all safe. The visitors are safe. The lobbyists are safe. Our news media is safe, as well as all of our legislature. And that's pretty much taken up most of our time so far this year. We have done some other bills, of course. I don't like being on Hollywood Squares. I'm not so sure that everybody does, or many people. The only good thing about it is in the wintertime, you don't have to drive through the snow and the ice. And that's the best part for somebody coming from the Northeast Kingdom down to Montpelier. But we're working on all kinds of things. We're working with buildings and general services for this, not only the State House, but different buildings. They're going to move the Williston Police Barracks. They need an update. I think they're going to sell the old one and continue to stay in it until they have a new one built. But if you're going to sell something, it's now the time, because the prices are high. People are excited about buying and getting in there. And that Williston area right there is right in the middle of everything. And it would be a wonderful thing for any type of business to buy that property. We passed out a bill called S3. It's hard to keep track of all the numbers. And this was regarding whether or not you're competent enough to stand trial, or whether you have a mental illness, or whether you have what kind of problems you have as far as getting a fair trial and understanding what it is that you're being charged with. So we passed that. And of course, everything in the House, I always tease the Senate. I said, we do the hard work, and then we pass it through to the Senate, and then they make their own changes, and then it comes back to the House again. So, but I keep telling them they really, they need to do a heavy lift as well as anybody else. But they know I'm teasing. But I'm not going to say too much more. We have to worry about our Lake Memphremagog. We're having our committee bill, which is 438, which is the capital bill. The Senate has decided they want to reef or sink the Adirondack ferry in the lake. Now, we've spent millions of dollars to keep the lake clean and unpolluted. And here they want to send this ferry boat, which is a metal hull that still has paint on it, wood that still has your oils and the other things from whatever it takes to run a ferry boat, and cars being on and off it all the time. And so we're fighting it, and they're pushing back. They want it reefed, and now it's in court, not from us, but other people. Environmentalists have said, no, let's not sink the Adirondack. There's already wrecks down there. There's 4 or 5 wrecks already on the bottom of the lake that divers go and look and, explore, that are already attracting the fish and so on. So I'm sure for the ferry boat people, it would be cheaper to sink it than it would be to tear it all apart and take it away. So, but we haven't finished the capital bill yet. It should be coming out this week. And the other thing they want is walleyes. Yes, fish, walleyes. They want to be able to have the walleyes put back into the lake. But I get a little annoyed and say, come on, Memphremagog is as much danger as Lake Champlain. We have 175,000 Canadians that use Lake Memphremagog for their drinking water, and we need to make sure that it's pure as we can possibly have it. And right now we have fish that have lesions. So there's something that's not quite right. But anyhow, thank you so much. I will close for now, and thank you very, very much. And we will continue to do our very best work, and I'm honored to represent all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. And now I'd like to call upon Representative Vicki Strong, who serves as a member of the House Committee on Agriculture and Forestry and the Legislative Advisory Committee on the State House. Vicki?
Okay, thank you. Bill, nice to see you in front of the old stone house. I didn't know that's your birth town, your childhood place you enjoyed, and it is a delightful place. So I appreciate this Old Stone House sponsoring us today and those who are working behind the scenes. Thank you. And nice to see all the legislators here together. That's one thing I miss in the State House is the ability for us all to, just pass each other in the hall or in the lunchroom, sit with Senator Starr or our new Senator Russ Ingalls, and not only talk about our lives in general, but what's happening in each committee. So I am on the Ag and Forestry Committee for my second term. I've been there a total of 11 years now, but served on Ag for 2 terms, and I find it to be a delightful committee and a place where I feel completely at home and passionate about the topics we talk about. And I won't rehash everything that Senator Starr said so well, but I'll mention a few things we've done in the House side that I'm sure the Senate has looked at, but I'm not sure if Bobby elaborated on them or not. But one thing that's going to happen, which is good news for all of us, are most of our fairs and field days will be back open. So some are waiting till later in the summer and fall when the governor has given us more of the okay, so to speak. But all of our fairs seem to be excited and ready to go. They've received some funding as well to help gap that year last summer where we were not seeing those be able to open and operate. So we're hoping for a good season and that folks will get out and really feel that new renewed joy of seeing all these great fairs and the things that happen there. Another issue we're dealing with in that House side is migrant housing. And we're seeing a lot of places on farms where the housing situations aren't ideal. And several years ago, I did visit some of our local migrant housing facilities. They're usually trailers and quite old. And many times the plumbing isn't great or the heat goes off. And you see a lot of migrants in and out, in and out. So it is a problem. And we do want better housing facilities for our migrant workers. They're the backbone of our dairy right now, and our farmers appreciate them. And it's not really, what I liked about this conversation was they're not blaming the farmer. They're really saying farming and dairy particularly is really going through a tough time financially. And it's just another burden to say to a farmer, you've got to pay X amount of money to fix this up or buy better housing for these migrant workers. So we're really working on innovative ideas where some of the migrant workers themselves who have, so to speak, graduated from farming, they're now working together as a group to help actually build some housing on some of these farms. So the migrant workers themselves are becoming their own nonprofit to help build better housing. So that's one area and one way we can improve that. And they're looking for some grants and that sort of thing. So they're in visiting with us. But it is heartening to see that it's a mutual understanding between farmers and migrant workers. We have to work together, and we want to make this a better situation for them all. Overall, I would have to say that this has been the year of commissions, study groups, boards, and working groups, and that have been in almost all of our bills. for all of us in the House. It seems like anytime we pass a bill or we're reading a bill, there's another study group or another commission. And I'm not sure if this is always a great idea. I feel like we're passing the buck a lot of times onto some of these commissions and working groups, but then they come back to us, give recommendations and that sort of thing, or propose legislation. So I'll hope that these groups will do a good job over the summer and into the fall and bring to us the necessary information we need as legislators to stay informed. And one more thing I'll mention as I close, for the whole session now, since last March, we've worked through the internet, through Zoom, and it's been a lot of tough times as far as hours and hours in front of a computer. And I'm not sure that we really do it justice as a legislature. And I have heard that most other legislatures in the country are meeting in person. Sometimes they have a little bit of an availability to do Zoom if someone chooses that. But overall, the other legislatures in our country have been meeting in person. So we will have a vote coming up in the House to declare whether we want to continue with this form of meeting through what we have to call an emergency order. And I personally want to vote no. I think this is time to move forward and find better ways to meet, whether it's our committee work meeting in certain ways. We can work that out. But I just going to vote no if we bring this up again to extend this emergency order in the House. So I thank you all very much. It's a privilege to be a representative for the Northeast Kingdom, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you, Representative Strong. Now, Representative Brian Smith, who serves as a member of the House Committee on Transportation and the Canvassing Committee. Brian?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. I'd like to touch on something that Representative Strong just mentioned about all these commissions and groups that are being formed. I'll get to some transportation stuff in a minute, but there's probably close to 1,000 bills that were introduced this year, and I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong on some numbers. But if all of these bills, many frivolous bills, hadn't been introduced, we wouldn't need to be putting commissions together or study groups together, because the committee that the bill should be in, the important bills should be in, could be addressed. I'm finding myself not supporting many bills that have that are asking for a study commission or study groups, and it's so much better if we can be right in the Capitol. And you'll learn of these other bills from talking to other legislators and talking to lobbyists that we don't have that opportunity on Zoom. So it's been kind of a struggle to be able to cover everything and make sure you know what's going on in Montpelier. We have been working, transportation has been working on the DMV bills, S86. And I think that the Senate has it over there right now, or maybe it came back to us last week. Senator Ingalls could nod your head, Russell, if I think you have the bill right now. But we're pretty close. House Transportation and Senate Transportation have worked really well on this bill, and it's going to be a good bill. A lot of it involves corrections and cleaning up of language that was a little bit vague. We spent about a week, which I thought was extreme, on addressing different classes of electric bicycles. There's 3 different classes of electric bicycles. I think I could have found more important things to talk about, but now that it's clarified and going to be clarified, it's going to simplify some things perhaps down the road. S15, Senator Ingalls touched on it a while ago on ballots. I believe that there's going to be a number of town clerks that are going to raise an issue on this, and I hope that a big majority of town clerks. There's nothing wrong with calling and asking for an absentee ballot and going to the polls and voting the way this country has been brought up to understand how you elect officials. But that's a whole nother story down the road. the transportation bill, I believe we're going to see, with a lot of federal money, we're going to see a lot of infrastructure work being done this summer, probably to the tune of $250 to $300 million on paving alone. And that's a lot of that money is a one-shot deal. And 111 is getting about 5 miles of 111 is getting some pavement. Senator Ingalls and myself made many phone calls and whined and complained a lot. So we finally got some right answers from the Highway Division, and they're gonna pave 111. So thank you, Russell, for that. That helped a lot. Your phone calls helped a lot. I've had a few bills. I've got one bill in committee right now. I've been trying for probably 4 years now to increase the points and the fines on texting and driving. It's a big, serious problem in Vermont. There are people dying from it. You see it advertised and talked about on television. When you get your vehicle registration renewal, this part of that describes texting and driving as being a very serious problem. I cannot get my committee. I don't think I can get it out of committee right now. I'm guessing that it's probably a 5-6 vote. So I think what I'm going to do with that bill is leave it there, work on it over the summer, and bring it back again next January when we can meet face to face and sitting in our committee rooms. S47. I'll touch on that briefly. Tesla and a couple of other companies that do not have dealerships, they sell direct from the factory, have been trying to build a facility, or they want to build a facility in Vermont to service warranty. There are 750 Teslas in Vermont, registered in Vermont right now. And I believe that it's going to come out that they will be able to build that, but we're also protecting the franchise dealers as well. It appears that it's going to be a good bill once it's finished. I'm trying to think, see what else I've got. I think that's about all I want to touch on right now. No, I think I will mention one more thing, and then I'll be quiet and take any questions. Many of the bills this year, and I've hesitated for a long time to bring this up, have a lot of equity and bias parts to them. I've struggled with that a little bit as far as supporting some of these bills. I don't believe that there is the problems that some other states and some other areas or organizations have addressed in Vermont. I think Vermonters are a fine group of people, no matter what color they are, what color we are, or what gender we are. I believe there are organizations that have been making mountains out of molehills, and every other bill that we're seeing, and how not every other one, but many involve social equity, racial equity, and I wish they could separate that and concentrate more on some of the important bills that mean a lot to Vermonters. The teacher's pension needs to be addressed a lot better than it has been, but we're getting there, I guess. And that's where I'll leave it right there. So thank you for your time, and I'd like everybody to know that they should go and visit the Old Stone House this summer. It's a pretty nice place.
Thank you, Brian. Now Representative Woodman Page.
Well, hello, everyone, and I'd like to thank everyone involved in setting up this legislative breakfast. And I'd like to wish all our mothers and a very happy Mother's Day. I hope everyone had a nice Mother's Day weekend. Representative Marcotte could not be here. He's getting his second COVID shot, but and he asked that I address that. And I'll just say that Mike Marcotte and his Commerce Committee has done a great deal for Vermonters and businesses in trying to help sustain them and keep Vermonters and our businesses going during this pandemic. I would I would also say that this year's legislative session has been a mixed bag, with some good things that have come out of it and some negative things, which you've all heard. Some of the negative things I would say would be a proposal to recommend to our congressional leaders to promote the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico for statehood. That's a national item. It shouldn't have been addressed. It should be focusing more on local and state issues. The taxes on the Paycheck Protection Program, where funds from Washington came to Vermont that were not supposed to be taxed, and yet the legislature has decided to tax those funds, which the governor and many of my friends here want to overturn that. Other issues that have also been raised is the Winooski Charter, allowing voting for non-citizens. This does not seem right, particularly when, well, it just doesn't seem right to me. As a veteran, to defend and support the Constitution, it just goes against everything I believe in. And in addition, our state legislature, you don't have as many veterans as perhaps there once were. And a lot of them don't understand what it's like to have to serve in the military. Another issue would be the charter change in Brattleboro, allowing 16-year-olds to vote. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for participation for everyone to vote, but I think this is just a little premature. In addition, it's premature when you have a business such as the Coffee Cup Bakery that went out of business, a loss of 250 jobs from Brattleboro to Burlington. And I would have thought that the Brattleboro delegation would have put its focus on that issue as opposed to voting for 16-year-olds. But it's not all bad in the state legislature. I think in our healthcare committee, we've done some good. As Brian said, we have spent a lot of time on equity in healthcare. There was a bill regarding this, and I did vote in favor of it. Even if there is some problems, if there are problems within our healthcare regarding racism or social equity, I think it's good to make those changes and to make our healthcare system better. What else? I think our healthcare program, our healthcare committee has done a lot of good for Vermonters and our primary care physicians, instituting telehealth and telemedicine during the pandemic, allowing patients to be seen at home through Zoom, rather than risking their health to go in to see their primary care physician. Another bill that we covered recently was the bill to provide care to undocumented children, as well as care to prenatal mothers. I voted in favor of this. I thought it was a humane bill and it should be voted for. The one thing I did not care for was the bill came back from the Senate, in which it said that the Agency of Human Services should not make any information regarding applicants or enrollees available to the United States government. And even though I didn't care for that statement, I did ultimately vote for the bill. I did not think that statement was necessary, but it was included. And finally, there's been an issue that's arisen in our healthcare committee, and that's regarding children in mental crisis sitting in our emergency rooms. We've just recently discovered that there's a number of cases throughout Vermont hospitals where children are sitting in emergency rooms for days. And so our committee has looked at this, has questioned our commissioner of mental health services, and we're collecting data on this on a daily basis, and we're trying to resolve this issue and get children out of emergency rooms where, you know, they don't need to be sitting there for days. So that is basically all I have. As I said at the very beginning, it's a mixed bag. Some good things have come out of our legislature and some negative. And it looks as though we may be going back in October for a short period of time due to other bills, other funding issues that may be coming from Washington, D.C. And I, for one, will look forward to going back and being in person in the State House as opposed to Zooming. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with all of you.
Thank you, Representative Page. Now, we're going to need to change the rules because we only have 8 minutes left. And I think with the number of legislators that we have, we wouldn't get through their responses. So what I would like to do is to see who in the audience would like to make any comments directed to our legislators. And again, you know, we've now got 7 minutes left. So let's see who would like to have. Okay, I see Pam Lads.
Thank you. I want to thank Lynn Batchelor for recognizing the need to take care of Lake Memphremagog. As an area, if we don't focus on our lake in a positive way, we will not get the tourists we think that we want. We will continue to poison ourselves. We have fish in that lake with melanoma tumors. We know they're there. We know what the fish are. We have no idea if other fish have the same tumors. We've done nothing to investigate this. We have no clue what the cause is. So thank you for bringing that to people's attention. And thank you for recognizing what an absolutely insane idea it is to sink a ferry in a lake with all of the chemicals that they're not going to be able to take out of that. I mean, that's a total no-brainer, but thank you for pointing it out.
Thank you. Who is next with a comment? Okay, I don't see that we have any other comments. I guess that must mean that the citizens of Orleans County are fully satisfied with everything that is going on with our legislature, and that they heartily endorse the actions taken by all of our legislators for the entire past year. And again, I don't see that anyone is stepping forward to correct me. So
I guess I would have to agree with you, Mr. Moderator.
Well, we've got 5 more minutes. Now, I know that we have many legislators who could certainly fill up the 5 minutes, and I see Senator Ingalls. Would you like to fill up 5 minutes?
Well, I'll take a minute or so. I just wanted to bring up one other concern that I had, and I want to explain why my concern is. We've passed a bill that's going to allow illegal immigrants into the healthcare system of Dr. Dinosaur, and at first glance, the people have said, well, it's not a lot of money to do that. It's not a lot of, well, we ought to do that. We ought to take care of them. But I'd like to see the legislators create more opportunity to have illegals become legal. Instead of creating laws that encourage illegals to come to Vermont, which we do need the labor. I mean, we absolutely positively need the workforce, but let's work harder to get them to become legal citizens versus creating laws to keep them in the shadows of where they don't even know if they go down to the grocery store or not, if they're going to make it back home. Let's use the government to go to these farms and workplaces where they're at and help them become proficient in English, help them fill out the necessary documents needed to become here legally on some form of guest program or worker program or visa program. And I'd like to see laws not passed to keep them sheltered, because I think at the end of the day, as Representative Vicki Strong had said, we have these people here, let's help take care of them, but let's help them become legal versus keeping them in the shadow, and encouraging others to come here, because there's programs that will let them sneak under the radar. So I'll yield the
Senator
floor.
Starr. And please turn your mic on or unmute you.
Did he just shut himself off? Where did he go?
Senator Starr?
Hi.
There.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Vicki's statement about helping the fairs. We did put another $500,000 in the budget on the Senate side to help our fairs get open back up for this fall, as well as helping them last year with that. And so that should really give them a boost. And we also, we have $10 million in housing at VHCB, who works, VHCB works with a lot of farmers from one end of the state to the other. And there's a chunk of that money that's going to be going to help farm labor housing out of that 10 million. So there should be help on the way for that. And I thought Russ was going to maybe talk a little more about the transportation bill, but I think, Russ, there's $2,500 in that per person in that bill that you guys worked on, that's going to help if somebody takes their car to a garage and they say the admissions is all screwed up and you've got to have a new catalytic converter or whatever. There's $2,500 to help low-income people that get stuck with cars like this. And, that would be a big help to our citizens that have to drive these old cars. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront in people's attention.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this morning's legislative breakfast. I'd like to thank Dan Pellerin and the Vermont North Country Chamber of Commerce for organizing these, the Old Stone House Museum and Historic Village for sponsoring today's breakfast, Todd Pronto for making sure the thing worked, because certainly without him, we'd be lost, and all of the participating legislators. An incredible turnout as far as the legislators are concerned. And thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice
Thank you
day.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.